I've tried to convey the Zeitgeist Movement ideas to a lot of people, but the concept is hard to put in a single or even several sentences. Do you think it is possible and plausible to come up with something like that, something one can use to introduce the matter? I wish it was that easy just to have a blanket statement. I mean, there are blanket statements that have been stated, in the London presentation. There was opening statements, a few paragraphs long, that I think summarize things. Jacques' book, of course, has a lot of great singular statements. Even on their website, there's good summary statements. But the problem is the context of those statements, to most people, it'll just sound like Chinese because they don't understand, for lack of a better expression, by the way. If anyone's Chinese, I don't mean it to sound like your language is complex. But nevertheless, it sounds extremely foreign because they don't know the terminology. When you even use terms that Jacques uses that are typical terms, but if people don't understand what, quote, the carrying capacity of the Earth is, it's very difficult for you to talk about that. So what I would say is that the Zeitgeist Movement is a social movement dedicated to updating society to modern-day knowledge for the betterment of the whole of humanity. We recognize that the majority of the social, physical, and psychological problems that plague humanity as a whole are a direct or indirect result of the real or artificial scarcity that's been created. In order to counter this, the foundation of our social structure must be reversed. The competitive, labor-based monetary reward system does not work. It has worked only to a certain degree. It's never fully worked. We have to have a systems approach to the social structure. It is a round world. There's no real borders. There's minerals and resources and energy deposits everywhere. You have to have a system to harness all of this to make it work in the most efficient way. So that's the way I would generally say what the Zeitgeist Movement is about. Of course, there's many other aspects to it. There's, of course, the educational imperatives. There's the social understanding, the value system changes. Unfortunately, people don't seem to understand that most of their values are outdated. And how do you tell people that their values are outdated without coming across as exceedingly arrogant? That's one of those difficult things to talk about. The question, how do you decide if a person's values are outdated? Well, you compare them to natural phenomena in the natural world, and you see if those values pose any positive effect. Do they benefit anything tangibly? Are they functional in any way? And of course, when you get into religion and superstition, there's one side which the superstitious aspect of religion can be thrown out the window because it holds no functional relevance. In fact, it's a colossal hindrance. I think that can be proven equivocally. But on the other side, there is a moral quote. I don't really believe in morality in the sense of the traditional train of thought because it's tradition, and tradition is always going to be overcome in time. Tradition is by definition stagnant, and I'm not interested in tradition. But nevertheless, there are moral implications, so to speak, of religions, like reciprocation. When Jacques was asked by Larry King what he thought of Christianity, Jacques stated that, I think it's great, when are they going to put it into practice? Of course, Jacques isn't referring to, the death and the resurrection and all the superstitious stuff that's been derived from other religions. He's talking about the practice, the moral practice of it. So from that angle, there is a position for certain values or reciprocal values, but there's arbitrary values all over the place. Like people say, well, you should respect your parents. Why? Why should you respect your parents unless they're worthy of respect? Most parents I've met aren't worthy of that much respect. You have to put things into a tangible, feedback-based context. People say people have the value system that everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Why? If someone puts a gun to your head and says, I'm entitled to my opinion to think that you should die, you're just going to let them shoot you because you think they're entitled to their opinion? No. The world doesn't work like that, but I'm going to leave it at that. I wish I could give you a better singular statement. The Zeitgeist Movement wants to have a systems approach to society and evolve out of the competitive and detrimental patterns of behavior that we have now, which are in fact contrivances at this stage because of the vast magnitude and capacity of our technological understanding and also the understanding of the amazing amount of resources that we have on this planet that can take care of all of us if we had a systems approach to do so. So it's a holistic thing. And of course, even when you say that, and I'm sorry to go on a tangent here, even when you say that to people, their value systems kick in too, because most people, unfortunately, think they're better than everybody else. This is another powerful neuroses that's been concocted. All religions think that. The entire basis of class thinks that. The very first value adaptation that has to occur is people need to understand that they're not any better than anyone else or anything in existence. There's no such thing as such a qualifier in and of themselves. It's only when you get into practice of certain attributes that somebody might have a stronger position than somebody else. For example, if someone has an amazing proficiency in physics and engineering, well, that's the person that would be ideal to construct, say, bridges or anything that would be relevant to any kind of social architecture, as opposed to somebody else who studies just electrical engineering. They would be working on the internals of the structure that the other individual built. Those are the only elements of quality you can come up with. Obviously, there's a quality differentiation between somebody who sits on a couch all day and has been aberrately conditioned to drink beer and watch television for 8 hours a day, as opposed to somebody who has dozens of great hobbies and, does plenty of things, is socially active, and they use their mind and they think, and because their conditioning has allowed them to culminate a worldview and a perspective that actually finds reward in work and contributions to society and things like that. But in and of themselves, no one is better than anyone else, and that is just something that people are going to have to understand. There's no way the world is ever going to function in a clean way if people continue to put themselves on high horses. And unfortunately, this system rewards that. I hope that's relatively clear. There's a lot more I could say on that, actually, but I'm going to stop there because I want to try and get through these questions.